always comes my way. Wherever I go, hard luck is there to stay. Good luck never stays a day. Bad luck's always coming my way.
For today's Grimm adventure, we find ourselves in Westwood Village Memorial Park. Today we're going to be visiting the filming locations to the 1982 movie Poltergeist. And I figured the best place to start it is at the grave of Heather O'Rourke, who played Carol Ann Freeling.
The house looks just like the one next to it. And the one next to that. And the one next to that. A young couple live in it.
Give Ken a kiss.
You are so obnoxious.
With their 3 children.
Of course, you have to kind of chew each bite 10 times.
And something more.
Hello? They're here.
Now Steven Spielberg crosses a frightening new threshold into a world within our own. Its form is revealed.
What is it?
Its focus is clear. And the games are over. Poltergeist.
This cemetery really isn't that big. We've been here in the past filming some videos. Marilyn Monroe and Hugh Hefner are about the center of your screen down this road. But right here on the other side of them is where you'll find the final resting place of Heather O'Rourke, who played Carol Ann. And there she is, Heather O'Rourke, beloved daughter, sister. December 27, 1975, died February 1st, 1988. Carol Ann from Poltergeist 1, 2, and 3. Now, a lot of people don't realize this, but Heather O'Rourke was actually pretty sick during the making of Poltergeist 3. A lot of times whenever you see her in that movie, you may notice that she's got chipmunk cheeks, like chubby cheeks. And she was pretty self-conscious about that. Now, those cheeks were a result of the medicine that she was on. The doctors originally thought that she had Crohn's disease and they were treating her for that, but they were mistaken. In fact, when you watch the movie, if you look very closely, because she died during filming, it was almost done, they had to get somebody else to come in and dress like Carol Ann to finish the movie.
Who are you? No, I don't remember.
The beautiful child star of such movies as Poltergeist has died. That cute little girl with the long platinum hair was very familiar to movie audiences, but we want to tell you more about little Heather O'Rourke. This 12-year-old was born and raised in our area, and that's also where she has died after suddenly being hospitalized. More now on Heather's illness, and along with a look at her short but very successful career from our Chris Saunders.
America first saw a 6-year-old Heather O'Rourke in the Steven Spielberg horror movie Poltergeist. She was the adorable flaxen-haired little girl who uttered the eerie words,
They're here.
Later in Poltergeist 2, she said,
They're back.
Heather, then 12, had just finished shooting Poltergeist 3 in June. But Sunday morning, she woke up sick. Her parents thought she had the flu. Yesterday morning, as she got up to go to the doctor, she collapsed. She was rushed first by ambulance to El Cajon's AMI Hospital in cardiac arrest. Then she was life-flighted to Children's Hospital. Doctors say Heather's intestine had burst from an abnormality she'd apparently had since birth, but no one knew it. She died of a massive infection. This was Heather's room in her lakeside apartment, and it's filled with the things that she loved, her stuffed animals and her personally autographed picture of Sly Stallone. Her parents say it all happened so suddenly that they really don't know what to say other than that Heather was a perfectly happy and well-adjusted little girl who wanted to devote her whole life to acting. The skies seemed to cry along with Heather's classmates at Tierra del Sol Middle School today, where she was in the literary club and didn't want any movie star attention.
And then she left to go make a movie, and when she came back at the beginning of the school year, she was just like a regular student. Nobody even thought of her as Heather O'Rourke, the girl in Poltergeist.
She's sweet, didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and she was delicate. You can hurt her feelings real easy.
Heather was just a beautiful, sweet, loving, and delicate little girl. In 1982, at age 6, she told PM Magazine about her favorite things.
I like to bike ride a little. I swim a lot. And, you know, I play with my dogs, my dog. And I play with my dollies.
Heather's older sister, Tammy, who's been in movies like Annie and Pennies from Heaven, said today to make sure to tell everyone one thing, that we love Heather and we're really going to miss her.
Hello? What do you look like? Talk loud, I can't hear you.
After Carol Ann's spooky scene with the TV, we're greeted with the opening credits of the movie, where you get a panning shot of a hillside and mountains, and it's overlooking this housing plan. And we see it says, a Steven Spielberg production. That panning shot is what I'm trying to find right now. This is not the exact location where they had the camera during the credit sequence panning shots, where you see the mountains off in the distance and the slow pan across the houses. But this is as close as we're going to get. Just a heads up, the trees that you see at the beginning of this panning shot are no longer here. I was talking to some of the locals that live down there because I was asking where I can go to get the best vantage point, and they told me this hillside. And they told me that a lot of the trees that were here had to get torn down because they were, I don't know, they're just dead and just falling apart. And I tried really hard to pinpoint, like zoom in on some of the houses to pick a few different characteristics so we can go and try to find it. And I found a few. If I were to go back in time and show you exactly where I'm standing right now, it would be right here in the movie. Open fields, and then there's a dead tree. Out of the two houses that can be seen at the start of this panning shot, this one is probably the most recognizable because of that window above the garage door. You can see it here, as well as in the movie. Again, it's not a big scene, but it's a landmark that puts you in the movie, lets you know you're in the right spot. This house can be seen as well. Pay attention to the architecture above the garage door as well as the roof. We get a shot from right about here where you can clearly see a tree in the middle of the street. It's like this little median patch of dirt, if you will. So you don't really see that often around here. That tree is long gone. Instead, they have a new tree there, but the houses look the same. The jagged brick wall on the left-hand side is a little covered up. I'll show you that in just a minute. But in this scene, you see kids on bicycles and roller skates right here in the street and on the sidewalk. Even though the wall is covered by trees and bushes now, you can still see it, which is right here. In fact, there's one of the jagged corners. Right now I'm standing on Colmfield Avenue, where we just get a really quick shot down the street of a line of mailboxes. And the only thing that you can really make out in this shot, you actually see it a little bit later on, like the next scene, And I'll point it out. But you see that little open space in that roof right there? In the movie, there were these wooden beams going across there. Those are long gone. But this is it. I can't get any higher up on the hill to get the shot from the movie. Again, it happens really quickly. But if we break it down, 5903 Gleam Court, which is this driveway right here, is the one he would have been leaving from. And he drives right down the street this way. You see the long shot mailbox street one more time. This time as Jeff is riding his bicycle down the street towards where I'm standing. And in this shot, if you look very closely, you can see this fire hydrant as well as this wall right over here on this house. We now find ourselves in Simi Valley, not even a block away from the Freeling home. And this is where the guy on the bicycle carrying the beer can be seen next. In fact, right between these two houses is where you'll see the real estate sign for information and model homes. And then you see that building on the left-hand side, the blue one with the white porch, the columns. That's still here, although the house on the right has changed. We get a wider shot from right about here of him pedaling harder up this hill carrying the beer, and he passes the house on the right-hand side that kind of looks like the Freeling house, but it's not. The camera pans as he rides past it. You see this garage. The garage doors are a little bit different, but the kids with the remote controls, they would have been sitting right there on the curb. As he rides by on the bicycle, the kids with the remote controls decide to mess with him, and they send the remote controls after him. And as they do this, they pass an ice cream truck, which would have been parked right in front of this house right here. And we know this because if you pause the screen just right, pause the movie just right, you can see that window. It's a very unique trim to it. From about this angle right here is where the remote control cars cross in front of him. And he drops the beer and it starts spurting everywhere. And he grabs it, picks it up, and he walks right up the front steps. Now you'll notice this, the garage of the house that's next to it, the trim looks the same, but the brick wall here, including the mailbox for the Freeling house, are all different.
Get her in focus, boys! Yeah, come.
With the beer can spurting everywhere, he runs right up these steps to go inside with the doors locked. So you see him running across these garages over to the side of the house, into the kitchen.
Open up! Oh, shit.
The little spat between the neighbors happens pretty much right here between these houses. The house on the right would have been the Freeling house. They want to watch the football game. And Ben and his family are the house on the left. His kids want to watch Mr. Rogers.
Hi, Ben. We got a good football game going on here.
My kids want to watch Mr. Right.
Now we know that this is the side of the house where they filmed because behind them you can see the house that's across the street. And that's this house right here. In fact, really not much has changed. But you can see the roof as well as those two second-story windows.
I don't care what you're watching, Ben. Just show a little mercy with that thing.
If you grew up watching Poltergeist and had countless nightmares about trees that would eat you, or a killer clown, or being sucked into a closet into this otherworldly realm, this is the house that gave you nightmares, the Freeling house. As a horror fan, I can tell you, I kind of don't want to leave. I feel like I can pretty much stand here all day and just line up shots and relive the movie. kind of want to watch Poltergeist inside the house. Now there's another scene towards the end whenever the family's moving out. They have the moving truck pretty much right here to the left of your screen. And that house that's across the street with the 3 garages, that's still here.
She didn't seem to remember any of it. Oh, what a day. Smell that mimosa.
Yeah, well, I think you better cut yourself a bouquet and take it with you because we're not staying.
I know.
Now let's talk about the cemetery scene. They only moved the headstones. In this scene, Mr. Teague and Steve Freeling can be seen walking up this hillside right here. And of course, all of these houses that you see, they weren't here. Instead, they were just foundations. Now, in the scene when they're walking up, you can see a brick wall, like a retaining wall. That's still there. It's right there, covered by all this brush.
One of your children was born in your house, huh?
Carol Ann.
I understand that she's missed a lot of school. One of Trask's daughters.
But as they walk, you start getting a really good view of the land of where the cemetery was. And check this out. This is so cool. Right about here, you see that cul-de-sac, the street, how it goes forward? Let me zoom in a little bit. This will blow your mind. In the movie Poltergeist, all these houses were not here. They were just foundations. And you can see this exact street in the movie.
Flew as well, huh?
Yeah, we
Man, that's cool.
I'm sorry. I didn't see her.
She's around.
Listen, I wonder if you'd mind if I asked you a question?
How much room for a pool is there?
We've already made arrangements for relocating the cemetery.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh,
It's not a wooden fence. Today it's a metal fence, and there are houses up there where the cemetery was. But this is where Steve Freeling finds out about the truth of where him and his family are going to be living. They only moved the headstones. Now what's really cool about this, if you look way off in the distance, right there, you can see those trees in the same exact spot as the movie.
It's no great hardship. And I suppose that'd be okay.
Okay with whom?
Whomever might complain.
We now find ourselves in Irvine, California, visiting the campus of UCI. They filmed a very, very small scene, an exterior scene for Poltergeist right here. This building that's right behind me. Really, the only thing that has changed about this building is the trees. Definitely got a lot taller, but this was Dr. Lesch's office, the library here at the college.
What members of the household are involved?
There's Diane, my wife. She's 31. 32. I'm sorry. And my oldest daughter, Dana. She's 16. My son, Robert. He's 8. Carol Ann.
Carol Ann.
We now find ourselves in Ontario, California, at a place known as the Ontario Airport Inn. Back whenever they moved Poltergeist, this was the Holiday Inn, where at the very end of the movie, the Freelings escaped their house and they checked in here. Now, in order to get on property, I had to rent a room, so of course, I had to rent room 209, the same exact room the Freelings rented. The shot we're looking for looks something like this. Off in the distance on the right-hand side of your screen, you would see the neon sign for Holiday Inn as the family walks tiredly towards where I'm standing. First they pass 207, and then 209 comes into view. And they stop, they open the door, they go inside, they shut the door. A moment later, Mr. Freeling opens the door and pushes the TV out, and then goes back inside. It's kind of like a comical kind of thing, you know, they're fed up with everything. Then as the credits roll, the camera backs up further down the hall here. And eventually, it ends in a crane shot showing the outside of the motel. I told you, I had to rent a room in order to get on property to take photos. So let's see what the inside of the Freeling's room would look like in the movie. Just a basic hotel room. It's not that big. Now, honestly, I don't know if any kind of renovations. I would think that some renovations would have happened. But for the most part, it looks just like your average hotel room. This is a little old looking. Pretty crazy, right? The things you do to track down filming locations. Renting hotel rooms from your favorite movie, 1982, Poltergeist. And with that being said, thank you for joining us on another Grimm adventure, this time visiting the filming locations to the 1982 movie, Poltergeist. Till next time, happy Halloween.
Wherever I come, bad luck is coming my way. Wherever I go, hard luck is there to stay. Good luck never stays a day. Bad luck's always coming my way.